First, I'm really delighted to be part of this. This is at the heart of what we do. I work in the section that looks at both economic governance and public finance. So, so we look at issues of tax, debt, and illicit financial flows and so, but it's also very timely for us at the ECA at this time because we co-lead the high-level working group on governance architecture, and also with the African Union, um, we've been working on the position on FFD. We had regional consultations in November, where we had 34 countries actually on this. So this is really timely. But first, let me start by commending colleagues at the universities of St. Andrews and University of Leicester for building this, what I think very useful tool. And I think this is, as I said, at the heart of our work. Why? Um, if you allow me, because it fits well with the ECA perspective on development in Africa. We've been over the last decade and a half working with member states to help them bring in development planning back in. And we're really happy that probably most of the countries now either they have a Ministry of Planning or planning commissions. And within this work, we also been working with them with a link between planning and finance. And in terms of integrated national financing framework, and also we have a dashboard called IPRT, Integrated Planning and Reporting Tool, which help countries to align their national development plans with the SDGs and Agenda 2063. So, and within this, domestic resource mobilization is as a center of the work. And we think, and Gail and colleagues that, in Montreal, probably more than 20 years ago, domestic resource mobilization was central to the work because of issues of ownership and sovereignty or so. But now I think it's a new normal. With the geopolitical tensions, we talked about, declining debt, ODA, debts, etc. So this is why we emphasize, the work on this. And let me then probably just zoom in on two areas which I think they're very relevant in terms of the grade. First is the illicit financial flows. We were the secretariat of the high-level panel, people call it the Mbeki panel. And I remember the discussion there between 2011 and 2015 when we had the report. And I remember what President Mbeki said. He asked us for a headline number. And we came up with the 50 billion and so on. And in his words, he said, it doesn't matter if it's 50 or 60 or whatever, but we need a number to see the development impact. And I think this is what the colleagues are doing here. What impacts in terms of education and health or so, because the leakage. And remember when we started that work, and Gail, we met in Brazil in a joint event. Most of the people at that time, they were not familiar with illicit financial flows. They thought about it as capital flight. It was a problem of developing countries because of business environment, etc., etc. But we really wanted to know how much Africa is losing and how Africa is accredited to the next level. So, I wish if we had that discussion by that time, so it would have enriched the high-level panel report. The second area that I just want to highlight is our work on tax expenditures. we saw when we had our economic governance report is that there is a lot of work in terms of the, and that was also one of the recommendations of high-level panel. It's on the cost and benefits of, of, uh, of these tax incentives. Well, we thought let's look at the cost of tax incentives and try to measure them. We help countries now in terms of getting to the benchmark. We train about probably 13 countries now. And it's helped, the last example is last week, is that the Ethiopian government revised their tax incentive directives. But in looking at this and the revenue forgone, and then compare that to education and health in the report. But I think here, by engaging with this, we can go one step further, because the revenue forgone from the tax incentive, it doesn't mean that there are additional revenues. Yes, because some firms may respond by reducing or terminating their business. It has other impacts on other firms, reducing their taxes and so. And it is a question actually in my head in terms of how can we move that further, and probably we can have a further discussion with the colleagues there is about this, because it's quite static, as I said. We can have the money, the revenue for one, and then compare them there, but it will be more interesting in terms of looking at the more additional revenues and the impact. So these are just two areas which I think are very, very important for me. Let me commend the colleagues again for this. This is excellent work, and I think it's very, very relevant to African policymakers, and then we'll see what sort of engagements or whatever. I can't speak on behalf of ECA, but I think ECA can provide many platforms, because we are the secretariat of the African Ministers of Finance. We work with member states. We work closely with the African Union, the FTP or so. So let me stop here and thank you very much for the opportunity.